Live, local, late-breaking. This is WTVA 9 News.
All right, good morning. I'm meteorologist Alan Matthew here, and this morning we have some muggy air in place out there, so don't be surprised if you feel that walking out the door. We've also had a pop-up shower in recent moments. We'll talk about rain chances going forward.
Plus, a military plane explodes in the sky, ending the lives of 16 individuals, what police speculate that caused the calamity.
And later, a man finds himself in a dangerous situation on a trip to water his parents' plants.
Good morning. I'm Bill Hughes.
And I'm Katrina Berry. Thanks for joining us for WTVA 9 News Today on this Tuesday. Let's check in with Severe Weather Authority team Alan Matthew for a look at what's going on right now. Alan?
All right, we're seeing a pretty nice sunrise out there over Tupelo this morning, but we have had a little pop-up shower out there on the radar. We'll take a look at that in a second. But most folks expect mainly sunny skies out there today, especially the further you live to the north and the east, the more likely you are to still be in some of that drier air that we have in place early on. 69 is the temperature in Tupelo, and that dew point is in the mid-60s. That is not the case the further you go to the south, where some folks are already seeing that creep up into the 70s. We will expect mainly sunny skies back further north, like I said, around Corinth, places like that. But down towards the south and west, there was that pop-up shower that has since fizzled out in recent moments. We'll keep a check on the radar from time to time, make sure nothing else pops up going forward.
Overnight, a fire broke out at a large migrant camp on the Greek island of Lesbos Monday, following a protest over living conditions at the site. Police say no injuries were reported from Monday's protest and that the fire was believed to have been set deliberately. And the FBI is expected to be on the scene again this morning after an explosion at the United States Air Force Recruitment Center in Bixby, Oklahoma. Witnesses say someone on a red motorcycle threw a backpack at the recruiting center, which then blew up. A KC-130 spiraled into the ground about 85 miles north of Jackson. Leflore County Emergency Director Frank Randall tells us at least 16 bodies have been recovered. It's a tragedy that Bill Hughes has been tracking since it happened. He joins us live from the breaking news desk with how debris from the plane tells the story of the plane explosion.
That's right, Katrina. At least 16 families grieve the loss of loved ones this morning after the military plane crashes in the Delta. Officials tell us the KC-130 plane took off from Memphis. It was flying through the Delta when it went down. Officials say that 16 have been recovered. Investigators believe the plane exploded in midair because they found debris on both sides of the highway. As of now, there is no word on where the plane was headed. Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zink, a Navy SEAL, issued a statement on Twitter saying, "Please join me in praying for or sending good thoughts to the families and unit of the Marines that we lost." Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant also issued a statement saying, honoring the lives, saying, "Our men and women in uniform risk themselves every day to secure our freedom." A press conference is expected to take place sometime today. Katrina?
Now on to a developing story. An autopsy is expected to take place this morning for a West Point man who was pronounced dead at the hospital. Police identify him as 48-year-old David Riles. Police tell us that no charges have been filed. At this time, one of two people have bonded out after being booked at the Clay County Jail. 22-year-old Kaylee Ray is out on bond, while 25-year-old Nicholas Pfeiffer is still in custody. Chief Tim Brinkley says charges may be filed depending on autopsy results, which are expected to be in by Friday. A close family friend, Cheryl Fair, tells us that she and her family are still in shock.
He was a great guy. David was a genius as far as working on motors and cars, anything mechanical he could fix. And it didn't take him long at all. He was as good as gold. He would give anybody the shirt off his back. You know, all they had to do was ask. And he never asked for anything in return. You know, he was a good guy, you know, funny.
Coroner Alvin Carter says there were no gunshot wounds, but he doesn't want to speculate as to the cause of the death. We'll bring you more details as they become available.
A teenager is dead from an apparent gunshot wound in Aberdeen. Now, police are chasing leads this morning looking for answers. So far, Aberdeen Police Chief Henry Randall says 2 juveniles have been questioned and detained. However, no one has been arrested. 17-year-old LaQuinton Walker was found dead Sunday morning in a yard on Lowndes Street. The shooting death remains under investigation. 3 people have been arrested following a shooting in South Tupelo. Now, Tupelo police say the altercation happened Sunday just before noon at Nathaniel Place, formerly known as the Barley Courts Apartments. Police say no one was injured. The gunfire hit a nearby vehicle, which was occupied by 3 small children in the back seat. 4 masked men hold a Monroe County man at gunpoint inside his family's home. Now, the sheriff needs your help this morning to identify one of the men caught on camera. Thomas Rogers Jr. tells us that while at his home to water his parents' plants, one man came into the house, followed by another. He adds 2 more men came into the home, putting a gun to his head after telling him to get down. The 23-year-old businessman says that they took $3,000 of his hard-earned cash.
I had some money, so I got my own clothing line. I've had my own clothing line probably about a year now. I mean, everything I ever saved up for my search, I had a little stash in my room. They got all of it.
I'm not going to be afraid at my own home, but I do find myself getting up at night, checking on my kids, checking around the house, because, you know, now we got to be very cautious because we don't know.
One of the 4 men, dressed in black with a mask in his hand, was captured on surveillance video. If you know who he is, call the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. A man taking lewd photos of people is now behind bars. Katrina Berry joins us live with how the use of technology brought him into custody.
Bill, a Corinth man is behind bars this morning, accused of taking lewd pictures without permission. Police identify the man as 61-year-old Donnie Rory through a cell phone picture taken by a victim. They tell us that a victim contacted the department about Rory taking pictures on June 26. Police were able to execute a search warrant at his home in Ramsey. Now, during the search, they found pictures of several other victims, and they also say he admitted to the crime. Meanwhile, returning to the scene of the crime lands one man back behind bars 72 hours later. The Lee County Sheriff's Department says Julius Gritzman was originally arrested on the 4th of July. Now, he was charged with trespassing and petty larceny after it was caught on video. The 44-year-old then bonded out only to return to the victim's property. He has since entered a guilty plea. Bill?
Thank you, Katrina. A Memphis man faced a judge for the first time on Monday after his 3-year-old son allegedly accidentally shot and killed himself over the weekend. 26-year-old Cortez Wilkerson, the father of the child, had his bond set at $100,000 after being charged with reckless homicide, drug-related charges, and possession of a firearm and a dangerous felony. Authorities say Wilkerson told them that the toddler found the gun and shot himself. The child was transported to the hospital where he died. Marijuana, scales, and plastic bags were also discovered at the residence. And the time is now 5:07, almost 5:08. Let's check in with meteorologist Alan Matthew for a closer look at our severe weather authority forecast. Alan, looks like we've got another beautiful sunrise, but it looks like it's also going to be a hotter day because of that humidity.
Yes, indeed. We're going to have even more moisture to work with today, and so that's going to make it feel a little bit more oppressive out there once we get into the afternoon hours. We did have a single pop-up shower down there around portions of Itala County, but that has since pretty much weakened to the point it's not there anymore. But we'll take a live look out now for Oxford. Quiet conditions there as well, starting you off on your Tuesday morning, and we are seeing those temperatures, though, still sticking right around the mid-60s there. Some of that drier air hanging on further to the north and those lower dew points, but that's not the case down where we saw that shower earlier this morning. Places down and around there are going to stand at least a slight chance for some more rain going forward into today. You can see the pocket of cooler temperatures to the north by perhaps a degree or two cooler than what we're seeing a little further to the south, and that's generally those are in the lower 70s right around Highway 82. But this is a look at how our moisture changes going forward in this afternoon. You can see how it just generally works its way back in here, eroding some of that dry air that we've had in place over the past 24 hours. So very much so going to be a hot and increasingly humid day out there.
Thank you, Alan. Officials are working this morning to rebuild a railroad bridge after a fire shut down the line last week. The bridge spans the Yallabusha River near downtown Grenada and was damaged in a fire on July 4th. At this point, the cause of the fire has not been determined. A similar fire occurred in Columbus last Wednesday on a railroad trestle serving the island. And repair work is underway this morning on a portion of the Natchez Trace. Traffic is being detoured while crews do spot repairs on the roadway. The road closure is from milepost 214.5 in Webster County to milepost 219.5 in Clay County. Work is expected to last until July 24th.
A popular restaurant in the All-America City is shutting down after 4.5 years in business. The restaurant South announced on its Facebook yesterday, saying that last night was the last time to lock its doors. The Post adds that they'll be taking their energies to Park Heights and to downtown Tupelo. And coming up on WTVA 9 News today, police ramp up the investigation of several missing men from Pennsylvania.
Plus 12 years on the force ends deadly for one officer, how her family and friends plan to pay their last respects.
All right, coming back, we're going to be taking a look at some of those weather headlines that we have going forward for us, as well as your national high and low temperatures, and something we'll have to keep an eye on in the tropics. Stay tuned.
WTVA Severe Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Alan Matthew.
All right, we'll start off this morning by looking at some of your weather headlines today. We expect most folks out there this afternoon to remain mainly dry, although we do have some slight chances for rain coming into the forecast for us. Hot conditions once again today, and as we get some higher amounts of moisture in here, it will feel a little bit more humid out there this afternoon than it did yesterday. It was a dry heat. But going forward, we expect a summer-like pattern to emerge in the next couple of days. Something to keep an eye on in the tropics is this remnant of what was Tropical Depression 4 last week. Now, this does not stand a very good chance, if any, of further development, but if this should work its way into the Gulf or up towards the Atlantic coast, it could enhance our rain chances as we head into next weekend. Quickly, we'll take a look at your national cool spot for the overnight hours. 40 degrees there in Bodie State, California, and the hot spot yesterday afternoon was Death Valley, California, coming in at 119 degrees. Not going to be quite that hot out there, Bill and Katrina.
A U.S. Army soldier has been arrested in Hawaii on charges of trying to support ISIS. 34-year-old Sergeant Aikaka Kang was taken into custody Saturday by an FBI SWAT team. Kang is charged with attempting to provide material support or resources to a terrorist organization. An FBI agent said that Kang tried to give military documents to people he believed would pass them on to ISIS, but added that no military documents actually made it to ISIS.
4 young Pennsylvania men have vanished since last Wednesday, and authorities suspect foul play. The search involves heavy equipment on a farm 30 miles north of Philadelphia. The Bucks County District Attorney says the FBI has joined the search for the men who range in ages from 19 to 22. A 20-year-old man whose family owns the farm is being held on $1 million bail on an unrelated charge. An amateur photographer captured a water spout off the North Carolina coast on Monday. The nature show popped up on the Outer Banks and lasted long enough to get this amazing video. It happened at Kill Devil Hills, about 90 miles south of Virginia Beach.
A New York City police officer will be laid to rest today. Family, friends, and colleagues will gather at a church in the Bronx to say their final farewells to Officer Miatosa Familia. The 48-year-old mother of 3 and a 12-year veteran of the New York Police Department was shot and killed while on duty last week. Authorities called it an unprovoked attack. And a former USA Gymnastics physician will appear in federal court today in Michigan. Larry Nassar is expected to plead guilty to child pornography charges. Nassar is charged with obtaining and possessing child pornography and destroying and concealing records. Each of the 3 charges carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison.
U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions will be in Texas today. Sessions will address a drug abuse resistance education conference. Topics is expected to focus on the fight against opioid addiction. According to the Centers for Disease Control, drug overdose deaths are significantly increasing.
All right, there's a live look at our Tupelo Tower Cam this morning. Very pleasant sunrise coming up over northeast Mississippi, but we do have some slight chances for rain creeping into the forecast later this afternoon. Another hot one expected as well. We'll be talking about the heat and the rain chances going forward coming up in your full forecast.
Now, your WTVA Severe Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Alan Matthew.
All right, good Tuesday morning to you, meteorologist Alan Matthew here. And we'll start off by taking a peek at the radar, because earlier this morning we did have one little pop-up shower that was moving into northeast Mississippi. Looking out there on the radar, though, now we can see that that has since dissipated out there. That was mainly a little bit further to the south in portions of Itala County, but folks further to the north, starting off dry and some pretty decent sunrises ongoing out there to start the day off. Some drier air hanging on up there further to the north and east. So if you're up there around Tisch Tishomingo or, Iuka up towards Corinth and Lee County, Itawamba County, places like that. Going to see a fairly decent start to the day out there. Some patchy area fogs now beginning to pick up on some of our sensors there. 5-mile visibilities down towards Starkville, and certainly some places in between there could be seeing some of those conditions as well early on this morning. So do be advised about that. Early on the roadways, we do have enough moisture in place for that patchy fog to develop. Temperatures overnight dropped a little bit more further to the north where we have some of that drier air, but now that the humidity is creeping back in further to the south, folks are still hanging out there in the lower 70s at this time. 71 for Starkville and West Point, 72 in Columbus. Further to the north, some 69 still hanging on there for Corinth, New Albany, and Tupelo. Expect those conditions, or those temperatures rather, to be warming up quickly once again as we go into this afternoon. Especially the drier air, folks, will see those temperatures rise more rapidly. Lower 90s possible and expected for most folks. A few spots on the map may see some slightly lower temperatures due to rain showers. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where those would be, but that could be the difference between you being lower 90s versus mid 80s once we get in the peak of daytime heating. And also the heat index values likely to be a little bit higher this afternoon, so do note that as well. Will be a little bit more heat stress on you if you're doing some strenuous work. Stationary front still hanging out right pretty much over northeast Mississippi. That's inched a little bit further to the north overnight, and that's allowing that humid air with it to creep a little bit further up into the northern half of the state. We still do have that stationary front in place and the higher pressure back to the north and east that is kind of counter-reacting that, but you'll notice the dew points 75 down there in New Orleans. They've come up to the mid and upper 60s across much of northeast Mississippi, and that has supported some of those early on showers for us. But right now we're quiet, and you shouldn't need the umbrella at least for the next hour or so, but that's not to say later this afternoon you may not. We'll take a look at Storm Tracker and show you where those showers may develop. High pressure scooting to the north, keeping folks mainly along Tennessee, Mississippi State Line dry. Further to the south, more cloud coverage as we head in the afternoon. That'll increase, and you can see some spotty showers there, not expected to be severe, mainly at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, that peak daytime heating, and as we would normally expect, those will die off heading into the evening hours. But going forward in the overnight into tomorrow, again, more pop-up showers and a summer-like weather pattern begins to emerge for us once again. We're keeping the rain chances in the forecast from here on out through the beginning of next week. They are very low-end chances, and they will keep us from being so hot during the afternoons. More news and weather coming up after this break.
WTVA 9 News Today with anchors Katrina Berry, Bill Hughes, and meteorologist Joel Young.
And welcome back. Well, today is July the 11th, but if you didn't notice, that's also 7-Eleven, and that means it's 7-Eleven Day. And at 7-Eleven stores participating, 7-Eleven stores nationwide will offer customers free small Slurpee drinks of any flavor from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. today while supplies last. Now, the company, which is celebrating its 90th birthday today, plans to give away an estimated 9 million free Slurpees today. Today is also Chick-fil-A's 13th annual Cow Appreciation Day. Now, that means at participating locations nationwide, customers showing up wearing anything cow-like will receive a free entree from a list of redeemable items. This year, salads are not included. The promotion will take place from opening until 7 p.m. local time. Children will receive a free kids meal for dressing up.
And there's some new added benefits for drinking that cup of Morning Joe every day. A major new study out today says the benefits of coffee go way beyond the caffeine buzz and could potentially help you live a longer life. Now, just 1 cup a day lowered the chance by 12%. Bump that to 3 cups a day and your risk, get this, drops by 18%. And it didn't matter if the coffee was regular or decaf.
All right, a fairly pleasant start to the morning in terms of our temperatures. We're still in the lower 70s and upper 60s out there for most of northeast Mississippi. Some additional moisture in place, so it is slightly muggier than it was yesterday. And we had a pop-up shower earlier that we were tracking, but that has since pretty much weakened and subsided. Now, if you have plans this afternoon to head out and do some fishing later on this morning, perhaps, expect another hot day out there with those temperatures increasing into the lower 90s by the time we get to 3 p.m. this this afternoon. Slight chance of rain there. Also, we've added to the forecast just at about 20% though, as those winds have shifted out of the south. So do expect mainly sunny skies across northeast Mississippi, but some folks out there may run into some of those pop-up showers. Our storm tracker will show you where those might develop. Better chance is going to be back to the west along I-55 and points down towards the south later on this afternoon during the peak time of day heating. So just keep that in mind, and it'll be a great day to have our weather app handy to keep you up to date where those showers may pop up.
Thank you, Alan. And coming up later on WTVA 9 News Today, scam artists are getting smarter when it comes to stealing your credit card information. What you need to be on the lookout for next.
All right, the time is now 5:26 this morning. Sunrise coming up at 5:52 a.m. So a little while to go. I do suspect lots of folks going to see some sun to start off the day. 14 hours of daylight and very hot temperatures coming up.
Today with anchors Katrina Berry, Bill Hughes, and meteorologist Joel Young.
A plane crashes in the Delta, leaving 16 dead. What we know now in the investigation.
One suspect in a triple homicide no longer eludes police this morning. How police found him after more than a week. Thanks for making WTVA 9 News Today part of your morning. I'm Bill Hughes.
And I'm Katrina Berry. The time now is 5:29. A beautiful start to our day, but it's going to be hot.
Another hot day out there across the south. Yesterday it was very dry and hot. You walked out there, but at least it wasn't humid, so it was a little bit more bearable, I think. But today we're starting to add back our favorite ingredient, and that's that humidity, and that's going to make it feel a little less comfortable this afternoon for some folks than it was yesterday. Pleasant conditions to start off the morning, though, especially for those living back further north like Oxford. You guys are at 64 this morning. Very nice. Those dew points still hanging out in the mid-60s, and calm conditions there for you as well. So expect a beautiful sunrise there in Oxford. Get out there and enjoy it early on this morning, because later this afternoon temperatures are not going to be looking like what we see out there right now. Upper 60s, lower 70s as you're starting off your Tuesday morning.
Thank you, Alan. A KC-130 spiraled into the ground about 85 miles north of Jackson. LaFleur County Emergency Director Frank Randall tells us at least 16 bodies have been recovered. It's a tragedy that Bill Hughes has been tracking since it happened, and he joins us live from the Breaking News Center with how debris from the plane tells the story of the explosion.
At least 16 families are grieving the loss of loved ones this morning after a military plane crashes in the Delta. Now, officials tell us the KC-130 plane took off from Memphis. It was flying through the Delta when it went down. Officials say that 16 bodies were recovered. Investigators believe the plane exploded in mid-air because they found debris on both sides of the highway. Now, no word yet at this time on where the plane was headed. Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zink, a Navy SEAL, issued a statement on Twitter saying, please join me for praying for or sending good thoughts to the families and the unit of the Marines we lost. Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant also issued a statement honoring the lives lost, saying our men and women in uniform risk themselves every day to secure our freedom. A press conference is expected to take place a little bit later on today, and we're also hearing that the plane may have been carrying a large amount of ammunition, and that is causing some delays in recovery this morning. Katrina?
Now on to a developing story. An autopsy is expected to take place for a West Point man pronounced dead yesterday. Police identify him as 48-year-old David Riles. Police tell us that no charges have been filed. As of this morning, one of two people have bonded out after being booked at the Clay County Jail. 22-year-old Kaylee Ray has bonded out, while at last check, 25-year-old Nicholas Pfeiffer remains in custody. Chief Tim Brinkley says charges may be filed depending on autopsy results, which we're expecting by Friday. And a close friend to the family, Cheryl Fair, tells us that she and her family are still in shock.
He was a great guy. David was a genius as far as working on motors and cars, anything mechanical he could fix. And it didn't take him long at all. He was as good as gold. He would give anybody the shirt off his back. You know, all they had to do was ask. And he never asked for anything in return. You know, he was a good guy. You know, funny.
Coroner Alvin Carter says there were no gunshot wounds, but he doesn't want to speculate as to the cause of the death. We'll bring you more details as they become available. And 2 Alabama men are behind bars this morning charged with a triple murder. You may remember us telling you about the killing that happened last Monday at a barbershop in Prattville. Now, the U.S. Marshals captured the second suspect after he managed to elude authorities for a week, and that is 35-year-old Marty DeAndre Morgan. He joins 19-year-old Keon Kane as the suspect in this case. Police also arrested 2 others for aiding and abetting Morgan while he hid from police.
The Associated Press reports that the University of North Alabama police officer is on leave this morning after shooting a woman during a traffic stop over the weekend. The Alabama law enforcement agency says a driver allegedly tried to run over an officer while fleeing a scene in Florence on Sunday morning. That's when the officer opened fire, striking the vehicle. The woman was taken to the hospital. No word as of this time on her condition. A woman is in jail this morning accused of attacking a police officer in South Mississippi. Columbus police say during an attempted stop, 38-year-old Tiffany Michelle Smith knocked an officer to the ground driving away. The officer was treated at a hospital with minor injuries. Lowndes County deputies later located Smith at the State Line Fuel Center. She was immediately taken into custody. And the time is now 5:33. Let's check in with meteorologist Alan Matthew for a closer look at our Severe Weather Authority forecast. Another beautiful sunrise in store for North Mississippi today.
Yeah, great start to the morning there in Tupelo where the sun is coming up. A lot of pretty colors early on. And folks across northern Mississippi, Oxford, places like that, seeing a great start over the next 12 hours. Expect it to get increasingly muggy out there as those dew points creep up. You can see those numbers coming up for us later this afternoon. High temperature is going to be in the lower 90s once again like they were yesterday, but today a little bit more of a wet and sticky heat than it was yesterday where we had drier conditions. So lots of 91 still anticipated, which is right where we should be about for this time of year. And if you're going to have plans to head out there later this afternoon, expect those very high heat indexes as well. Those will be a couple degrees higher than they were yesterday. It will be a great day for a dip in the pool once again. Temperatures this morning starting off in the upper 70s. By mid-afternoon, a slight chance of rain developing for us at about 20%, and those temperatures right around the lower 90s.
Thanks, Alan. A Starkville Police Department looks to add more officers to its force. Anyone interested in becoming a certified police officer can visit the city's webpage or go to City Hall to apply. The positions were posted at the end of June and will stay open until they're all filled.
In just 7 months, the Tupelo Police Department says about 40 people have been scammed by card readers at local gas pumps. They even tell us this scam is their biggest issue. Detective Floyd says spotting this crime is becoming a lot harder. That's because hackers have gotten smarter. He says they now use an internal method by placing the readers in between the keypad and the computer. But there may be one way to protect ourselves against this scam.
You know, it's convenient to pay at the pump, but there's an extreme risk. There's always a risk, but the risk is a lot higher paying at the pump.
If your card is compromised, report it to your bank and contact your local law enforcement. And still to come on WTVA 9 News, a man says he is not red-handed Harry, even with it being caught on tape. Coming up next, find out why he claims his innocence.
TVA Severe Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Alan Matthew.
All right, let's take a look out there across the southeast region today, see if folks have travel plans today, what you can expect. Mainly quiet conditions over the northern half of the state early on this morning. Some additional cloud coverage down further to the south along the Gulf Coast. And we'll be expecting some pop-up showers down there for places like New Orleans, back towards Gulfport and Biloxi, even over towards Mobile Bay. Once you get in the daytime heating, some of those showers and thunderstorms will pop up and move on shore, as folks that live down there are well accustomed to. So if you're heading down in that area to the beach, perhaps, to expect some thunderstorms possible later this afternoon. And generally for the southern half of Mississippi, we could see some scattered development down towards Jackson. The northern half of the state, not going to see quite as much rainfall out there. So your Mid-South travel forecast shows if you're heading north up towards places like Nashville, expect very hot conditions. Those temperatures in the mid-90s this afternoon with mainly sunny skies there for Nashville, also for Huntsville and Memphis as well. A little bit more cloud coverage coverage over northeast Mississippi with temperatures in the lower 90s. But further to the south, slightly cooler, but that chance for rain showers in your beach forecast for today. Mobile, Gulf Shores, Pensacola, all likely to see some of those thunderstorms later this afternoon. And for tomorrow, we do expect pretty much the same conditions, summer-like pattern there with thunderstorms popping up right in the peak time of daytime heating, and then they subside as you go in the evening.
In international news, Iraq's prime minister has declared total victory over ISIS in Mosul. Haider al-Abadi spoke from a small base near Mosul's old city, the last area where numbers of ISIS fighters were holding out. Fighting still continues in the city as troops work to clear explosive devices and any remaining ISIS fighters hiding in Mosul's old city. The battle to retake the city began in October and has left thousands dead and close to 1 million displaced.
The Canadian province of British Columbia is under a state of emergency as over 200 wildfires burn in the area. Now, dozens of buildings have been destroyed and around 10,000 people have been forced out of their homes. The largest 3 fires have grown from 9 to 19 square miles. And a giant panda born in the U.S. celebrated his 12th birthday over the weekend in China, so he's officially a tween. Tyshawn received birthday wishes from both the U.S. and China and enjoyed some special birthday treats. Born at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., Tyshawn became a U.S. celebrity before returning to China. An airman from Patrick Air Force Base helped rescue a father and son after their boat caught fire hundreds of miles off the coast of Florida. Dramatic new images are coming in from the long-range weekend rescue. Dan Billow talks to rescuers who jumped into the Atlantic 500 miles offshore.
When you watch the pararescuemen of the 920th Rescue Wing jumping out the back of a plane, you start to understand why they're called the Guardian Angels.
It's pretty high risk. You're putting a lot out there that far out at sea.
500 miles offshore, a speck in the water near a passing oil tanker was a lifeboat with 2 men aboard from Germany. Their boat had sunk in a fire. One was badly burned. They had called the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard called the Air Force. There's a big reason why it took the Air Force to carry out this mission, and that reason is right here, the refueling probe on the helicopter.
We refilled twice on the way out, and then once we got on station, the PJs jumped in.
Out of nowhere, the Guardian Angels were on their way down.
The concern I would have if something were to happen to them, and the fact that they're putting their lives at risk, to save these German sailors.
The tanker crew helped the victims aboard. Air Force medics treated them. Their usual mission is rescuing downed combat pilots.
We're all about it. We want to get in there and do all we can to help, those in need.
Our motto is the things we do that others may live. And that is what we live by. We are out here sacrificing every day so others may live.
2 refuelings later from the same plane that carried the pararescuemen, the victims were safe at an Orlando hospital.
And once again, the victims are safe at an Orlando hospital. Amazing story.
I did not see the biker. I did not hear the hit. I didn't know it happened.
Video of a bicyclist getting hit by a car on the Tennessee road has gone viral, and you just heard from the driver, a Nashville administrator who claims he did not realize he had hit the biker when it happened, and that's why he just kept driving. Police issued this helmet cam footage of the collision to identify Neely as a suspect through his license plate. He was arrested and faces several misdemeanor charges, as well as felony reckless endangerment. Meanwhile, local cyclists believe this collision is a perfect example of why helmet cams should be a part of every rider's safety gear.
If drivers know that cyclists are riding around with cameras on their bodies or bikes, then hopefully the deterrent there is to not cause an accident like this.
Neely had been serving as Dean of Students for the University School of Nashville before he stepped down to take a part-time position at the school earlier this summer. The school says he was suspended after his arrest. Neely has hired a lawyer and plans to fight the charges that he is facing.
Not all drug problems come from the illegal kind. Mississippi is 5th in the nation for opioid prescriptions, and overdoses are at an all-time high. Courtney Ann Jackson explains why Drug Summit hopes to raise awareness of this epidemic.
There's no one-size-fits-all description of an addict, and the opioid and heroin epidemic breaks every stereotype.
What we've done is create a society of sissies, and there is a pill for everything.
MBN Director John Dowdy hopes the summit will bridge the gaps among the various agencies and community groups.
We will not arrest our way out of this problem. It's going to take prevention, it's going to take education, it's going to take aggressive law enforcement, and it's going to take meaningful treatment.
Attorney General Jim Hood says that's where the state has to put up more dollars, not cut them.
It is a sin for what our legislature has done for appropriations to the Department of Mental Health. You know, they had to close the male unit, drug and alcohol addiction at Whitfield.
Hood has also sued some of the drug companies in an attempt to fight the epidemic from one angle. Public Safety Commissioner Marshall Fisher notes there's not a silver bullet to solve this.
It's time. The silence has been deafening on this issue.
That's why they've expanded their reach to the community through town halls.
I was told that some of the pharmaceutical industry had reached out wanting to help us. And my response to that is, you've done quite enough already to help us, so stay out of our way.
The goal of the summit is to make people more aware of the epidemic and stop sweeping conversations about it into the dark. In Jackson, Courtney Ann Jackson, WTVA News.
The summit starts today and will run through Thursday at the Broadmoor Baptist in Madison, and they'll have a family forum night today and tomorrow, and if you aren't able to attend those early sessions.
Your WTVA Severe Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Alan Matthew.
All right, good morning to you, meteorologist Alan Matthew here, and behind me you see a gorgeous sunrise coming up early this morning over Tupelo. A lot of places, a lot of folks seeing that early on today. Some sunny skies, not very many clouds the further you go to the north, and temperatures still in a very pleasant range there, upper 60s. Not a whole lot of moisture either at this time. Dew point still hanging out in the mid 60s for quite a few early on to start off your Tuesday, but over the next several hours, we gradually crank up that heat. Each couple of hours, you see, we go from 70, then we crank it up 9 degrees to 79, and then another 9 degrees, getting us up to around 87 there by the time you're going out for lunch. A soft southerly breeze, and most folks, I do suspect, are going to see lots of sunshine as we go throughout the course of the day. A couple of places may stand a chance of seeing some clouds build in. Also early this morning, probably the most immediate impact the weather may have on you is some of those patchy areas of fog that we have around Starkville, Columbus, places like that. So be advised about that early on. That should mix out fairly quickly with the sunshine and heating of the day. Moisture trapped a little bit further to the south of us. That front, though, has crept up into portions of the southern half of the viewing area. And that's pretty much what's separating the cooler or lower dew points, I should say, from the more sticky stuff just to our south. There's some 70s down there right around Highway 82. And that's also pretty much explaining the difference you see here in our temperatures from the overnight as well. Slightly cooler back towards the north with some upper 60s, lower 70s, though, a little bit further to the south. This afternoon, temperatures going to reach into the lower 90s for many places out there. A few places showing to be slightly cooler. Water Valley, Bruce coming in at 87, and that's just an indication of those rain showers that may pop up later this afternoon. Very hot and increasingly humid, and that's why we also have heat index values a couple degrees warmer than they were for us yesterday. That stationary front hanging out right across northeast Mississippi has led to some pop-up showers, even one here recently a couple hours ago this morning. Humid air, though, still much so in place across the Gulf Coast and inching its way further to the north. High pressure back to the north and east is trying to counter-react that and keep at least some folks dry for your Tuesday. Here's a look at where we had that shower early on this morning back in Itala County. And over the next few hours, we could see a couple additional showers popping up for us. We'll keep a close check on the radar going forward. Storm Tracker shows you by mid-morning, mainly sunny skies, perhaps a few clouds increasing there by 3 p.m. this afternoon, then really building in as we head in the evening for the southern half of the area. Additional clouds building in going into the afternoon, and some pop-up showers possible during the peak time of daytime heating. So we're getting back into that summer weather pattern. We do have a slight chance of rain that we've added here today, and we'll bump that up further as we head into the middle of the week.
News Today with anchors Katrina Berry, Bill Hughes, and meteorologist Joel Young.
Welcome back to WTVA 9 News Today. I'm Katrina Berry.
And I'm Bill Hughes. Here are the top stories that we are following this morning. At least 16 families grieve the loss of loved ones this morning after a military plane crashes in the Delta. Officials tell us the KC-130 plane took off from Memphis. It was flying through the Delta when it went down. Investigators believe the plane exploded in midair because they found debris on both sides of the highway.
An autopsy is expected to take place this morning for a West Point man who was pronounced dead at the hospital. Police identify him as 48-year-old David Riles. Police tell us that no charges have been filed at this time. One of 2 people have bonded out after being booked at the Clay County Jail. And 4 masked men hold a Monroe County man at gunpoint inside his family's home. Now the sheriff needs your help this morning to identify one of the men caught on camera. One of the 4 men dressed in black with a mask in his hand was captured on surveillance video. If you know who he is, call the Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
A woman is in jail this morning accused of attacking a police officer in South Mississippi. Columbus police say during an attempted stop, 38-year-old Tiffany Michelle Smith knocked an officer to the ground driving away. The officer was treated at a hospital with minor injuries. And don't forget, you can get the latest news, weather, and sports by visiting our website, WTVA.com, or you can download the WTVA 9 News app. It gives you instant access to the latest news from across the area.
You can also stay on top of big national stories as they happen. The new and improved WTVA News app is free and available for download for Apple and Android smartphones and tablets.
All right, there's a live look at our Tupelo Tower Cam. The sunrise just came up over the horizon there. Beautiful sunny skies expected over the next several hours and for much of northeast Mississippi today. When we come back, we'll take a final look at that weather forecast. Who can expect rain going forward and heat? Stay tuned. All right, this morning we're looking at beautiful sunny skies out there for quite a bit of folks to start the day off. We will have a lot of sunshine across the northern tier of Mississippi, but folks a little bit further to the south and east may expect to get in on some of those rain showers going forward later this morning. Just a slight chance of rain, though. We'll take a look out there on the radar, show you. Most folks seeing quiet conditions out there. We have one little pop-up shower that was out there earlier today, and this is actually probably not rain. That looks like some of those birds that we've been seeing on the radar, bats flying out early in the morning from their roost, but mostly not raining out there. You should need the rain umbrella going forward for the first half of the day, but this afternoon again some of that humid air is starting to inch its way up from the Gulf, and that'll increasingly work its way into some of those southern counties around Highway 82, and you could see a pop-up shower later today as that does begin to occur. Stationary front also providing a little bit of a mechanism for lift. Those higher dew points still focused down there towards the south. We're still hanging on to some mid-60s, pleasant air conditions up here in the northern half of the state, but 70s and 73s down there a little bit further to the south. Storm Tracker really quickly shows you mainly sunny skies taking you through this morning. Some cloud coverage and maybe a pop-up shower there by mid-afternoon for the northern half of the area. Of course, those temperatures getting very hot for us as well. For the southern half, much more cloud coverage there, and you can see where the better moisture is back towards the southwest. Spotty showers possible once again there for you as well. Over the next several days, keeping the slight rain chances in the forecast for us going forward all the way through Monday of next week. Hot and humid coming back.
Thanks, Alan. Coming up on WTVA 9 News today, investigators are looking into what kind of mishap caused a military plane to crash in the Delta.
We'll have statements from state officials expressing their sorrow for all the victims.